Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Okay, it's coming up. Actually, it could have stayed on now that I think about it. Ooh. I just want to say good morning and thank you so much for being here. So important that we have some time together. I'm Reverend R. Ken, and I want to let you know that there is an infinite source available to everyone. It is there for each who seek it, no matter their race, gender, or religion. Believe what you may, but you should know that the source of the universe is also the source of each of us. Therefore, the principle supporting the stars is the principle supporting and available to each of us. As I declare this statement in the first person, I declare it for all. I am open and receptive to this divine living principle. Mother, Father, God, I am grateful. This is my declaration. This is my truth. And as I accept it, so it becomes. And all is well and well indeed. The dynamics of intention. Week 5. Choosing again and again. Good morning and welcome to the Sunday Experience. I'm Reverend R. Ken. This is Unity of Chicago South online spiritual community. It's something we call Beyond Walls Spiritual Community. And I appreciate you being here. The Sunday Experience, is it a sermon? Is it a class? Is it a lecture? Not exactly. It's a live online experience where spiritual principles become living practice. Built for today, built for you, and building together. The past 5 weeks, we've explored the dynamics of intention. We've discovered that intention is more than wishing, hoping, or even setting goals. It is the conscious decision to live from the inner house before responding to the outer world. Today, we bring the series to a close, not with an ending, but with an invitation. How do we continue growing? Perhaps the answer is simpler than we imagine. You see, we live by design. But the question becomes, whose design? Our fears, our habits, the expectation of others, or the divine possibility already present within us? Living by default or living by design? Much of life happens automatically. We walk to the same routines. We wake up with the same procedures. We respond with familiar emotions. We repeat the stories we've been telling ourselves for years. Now, understand there is nothing wrong with routine unless routine begins making our choices for us. Living by design. Living by design means waking up before the day asked anything of us and quietly remembering who we choose to be. It is saying, today I will let purpose shape my responses more than I allow circumstances to dictate my answers. Nona Brooks wrote that our work is to become increasingly aware of the presence that is always available. Our work is to become increasingly aware of the presence that is what? Always available. So that would mean that growth then is not about becoming something new. Flash. We all want to become new. But growth is not about becoming someone new. It's more about cooperating more fully with the life already expressing through us. Hmm. It's already there waiting to come forth. Yes. Hmm. Think about a GPS. What happens if you miss a turn? Does it say, whoa, that was a dumb mistake? Whoa, that was terrible. Oh, we're lost forever. No, it doesn't criticize you. It simply does what? Recalculating. It simply recalculates. And you see, spirit does the same. The question is never, have I made mistakes? The question is, am I willing to choose our direction again? Ponder that. Are we willing to, after the mistake is made, are we willing to choose again the direction, or do we wallow in the mistake? When we choose again, when we choose the direction one more time, that is living by design. Benjamin E. Mays observed, the tragedy of life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. Think about that. The tragedy of life doesn't lie in not reaching our goals. The tragedy lies in having no goal to reach. Dynamic intention gives our lives direction. We may not arrive all at once, but direction matters more than speed. Direction matters more than speed. The Tao Te Ching reminds us, a journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath one's feet. Every intentional day becomes part of an intentional life. The poet John O'Donohue wrote, may you have the courage to live the life that you would love. May we have the courage to live the life that we would love, the life that we would say, oh my God, it's fantastic. This life is wonderful. But sometimes it takes more courage today than it did yesterday. Sometimes it takes the desire, the willingness to say, I'm ready to choose again. I understand yesterday, and I'm ready to choose my direction again. I understand the slipping and the sliding of yesterday, but today I'm ready to choose again, because spirit is like the GPS. It simply helps correct my path to where I'm going. It doesn't penalize me. It doesn't criticize me. It continues to be within me, waiting to express. I am that vessel. You are that vessel. A vessel that has the courage that is renewed each morning. Each morning we get up. Master Eckhart said, if you have but one prayer, it should say, thank you, God, when you wake in the morning. Understand that as we travel through this life, we don't make one grand decision and then coast all the way through. It is required of us to choose again and choose again and choose again. That's the challenge. The challenge is not setting the goal. The challenge is setting the new goal when the old goal didn't work. And so many times we lay in the old goal and the failure of the old goal and the disappointment of the old goal. But when our intention is set to be joyous, when our intention is set to design what day will I have that is the best day of my life, when our intention is that, we then allow spirit to come forth and walk us through. This week, just a challenge. I challenge me and I challenge you. I say, begin each morning with one simple soul inquiry. And we know what a soul inquiry is. A soul inquiry is when we ask that deepest part of ourselves, that spirit within ourselves, the question, and then we step back and allow it to answer. And the question I say to ask your spirit, that question I say to ask my spirit is, who do I intend to be today? Who do I intend to be today? Not what's getting ready to happen. Not the things that I'm going to be challenged with that I know about and that I don't know about. But the question is, who do I intend to be today? Do I intend to be one that brings joy into the world? And whoever happens to be in front of me just receives the joy, because I'm not giving you joy. I'm giving joy to the world, because it's not my joy to give. It is the joy of that which is within me that wants to express. And I choose to cooperate. Who do I intend to be today? And understand that is not what do I need to finish. It is not what do I need to fix. It is just simply, who do I intend to be today? And then let the schedule, let the flow of your day come from that answer. Dynamic intention is not a destination. I wish to say that one more time. Dynamic intention is not a destination. Dynamic intention is a daily practice. Who do I intend to be today? I intended to be somebody happy and joyous yesterday, but it didn't work out, so I'm going to live and I can't be that. This is a new day, a new opportunity. Who do I intend to be today? Spirit is not holding me, punishing me for not fully expressing itself through me yesterday. I'm still here, so there's an opportunity to allow it to come through today. So the question is, I need to set my intent. And the way I said it is asking the question of my soul, who do I intend to be today? Understand this. We do not become our intentions because we choose them one time. Doesn't work that way. Life lived by design is to choose again and again and again. You see, we become that intention that we set because we choose that intention again and again and again against all odds. Dynamic intentions. It has been a wonderful journey. And now we have the opportunity to live life by design that we create. Thank you so much for joining us on Practical Spiritual Living this morning, the Sunday Experience, brought to you by the Unity of Chicago South. And I invite those of you that can to stay with us for the second part of the Sunday Experience, something we call Sunday Conversations. And this is an opportunity where sharing and discussion and an exchange of ideas is the focus. We take a short break and then we begin the conversations. You're invited to the conversation here on the team platform. And I want to let you know there are two ways to join. You can go to our website, unityocs.org. That's unityocs.org. And you can get a link. Or you can text right now, Sunday, to 564-234-2890. That's Sunday, one word, Sunday, to 564-234-2890. And you will receive a text back with the link. You can do either one of them right now and join this live conversation after our short break. But for those of you that are unable to join us, my wish for you is that you live this week not by default, but by design. Next week, we start a new series on practical spiritual living called Living from the Inner Kingdom. It's something that you want to experience. And of course, if you're on social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, at this point, know that you can join the conversation by doing the Text and Sunday or going to our website. And on behalf of the Unity of Chicago South Beyond Walls New Thought Spiritual Community, we thank that community for the support for this, the Sunday Experience. We'll see you, those of you that can, in a few. Namaste. Okay, we are back. We are back. We're back with Sunday conversation. And wow, what a way to wind it up. We've been dealing with forgiveness for the past several weeks, the practice of forgiveness. And this week, the big question: can we forgive ourselves? Can we forgive ourselves? And I want to say thank you for being here, making sure we have our audio up pretty good. Let's see. Do I have the right audio? Okay. Yeah, there we go. Don't know why I can't hear you. There we go. I can hear you now. Wrong piece. Okay. And when we talk about this powerful question of forgiveness, the question that's even more powerful than just forgiveness is one that many of us carry around. Why is it often easier to forgive someone else than it is to forgive ourselves? And today we'll look through three windows: the new thought window, the psychological window, and the spiritual window. And then we'll open the conversation. Ernest Holmes reminds us that life is always creating itself anew. Life is always creating itself anew. If spirit is always expressing itself freshly, maybe we are not required to keep becoming yesterday's version of ourselves. That's a thought. So, how do we begin to forgive ourselves? Forgiveness begins when you stop identifying with old conclusions. When we stop identifying with old conclusions. I did that, I was that, but what am I today? Well, what is it that I choose to be today? Because spirit is always renewing itself, and I can catch the coattails of spirit and ride that renewal. So, with that said, working on how do we work to forgive ourselves, we first must ask, what is it? What old label did I even believe about myself that I may even have been, but I have now outgrown it? Hmm. Think about it. Let's ponder. Well, I've tried so many endeavors, and so many of them didn't work out. How much of that is working and walking with me now? That's a question, not for you. I'm asking myself this question. There's a question within you to ask. There's a question within you to ask based on the idea that spirit is always renewing itself, and spirit is within me, and spirit is renewing itself within me. Do I choose to take the opportunity to renew by not continuing to live on any past misconceptions or correct exceptions that I no longer am? Hmm. That second window. Psychologists often distinguish between guilt and shame, guilt and shame, guilt and shame. Did we even know there was a difference? You see, guilt says, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. Shame says, I am the mistake that I made. I am the mistake that I made. Mm. To grow, to move into the flower of self-forgiveness and blossom, we have the opportunity to learn from guilt, the mistake, without accepting the shame as our identity. Mm. Yes, I did. I did make a mistake. And it wasn't the brightest thing I've ever done in my life. But I'm not that mistake. I may have felt like I was the mistake in the moment, but now I understand that was just a little bit of guilt for making the wrong decision. I am not the decision I made, no matter how much someone tries to make me that, which is irrelevant with today's focus, because it is not so much how someone outside of me chooses to make me feel that I am the mistake. It is me accepting that I am the mistake. When I can release the shame of being the mistake and accept the guilt that I did it, I begin a process that opens the door to self-forgiveness. So the question becomes, a discussion among yourselves, so join in the conversation. Have you been confused? Have you been confused with something you did with who you are? Have you confused that? I did that, but I'm not that. Can you say that now? Right now, I would say to you, first, I would say to you, you should be on this platform so we can talk about it. But since you're not, I will say to you that whatever it is that was done, you are not the thing. You're not the mistake. Several weeks ago, I said there was an old commercial that was out. You might be able to find it on YouTube or something. And there's a little kid. And the crux of it was the little child said, God don't make no mistakes. God don't make no junk. We make mistakes, but we are not the mistake. A friend of mine would say, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. And then the scriptural window, lens to look through. After Peter denied Jesus 3 times, the resurrection story does not end with condemnation. It ends with resurrection. It ends with restoration. You see, 3 times Jesus asked Peter, do you love me? 3 times Peter is invited back into purpose. 3 times. And scripture 3 times is very important. 3 times is one of the numbers for completion. But let's understand something. The story of Jesus forgiving Peter is not just about forgiveness. Jesus was so great he could forgive Peter. Oh, I wish I could be that great. The Christ within you is the same Christ within all. The Christ within Jesus is the Christ within you. Jesus was able to rise that Christ to a very high level. giving us a pattern to do the same. But what that whole scene, that story was about, it's about reclaiming one's calling after failure, reclaiming one's calling after failure. Is that so hard? Is that so hard? Yes. Yes. We so often live in the failure. But the beauty of it is, no matter how long we live in the failure, there's that which is within us ready to lift up with us into the newness of the day. Now comes the hard part. Now comes the challenging part. Now comes the part that we come to Sunday conversation for. Looking at ourselves, looking in the mirror of self. What changes? What moves to a different plane when we began to see forgiveness as restoration rather than pardon? Okay, let's see. What is he saying there? You see, when I can forgive myself, I am in the process of restoring my wholeness, restoring my completeness, rather than saying, I forgive myself, so I'm pardoning myself because I made a bad mistake, and I'm saying, I'm letting it go so I can restore myself into the consciousness of the wholeness of the power of that which is within me wanting to express. You know, each one of those windows, psychological, the new thought, the spiritual, point to the same truth. Please hold this. Our mistakes are merely chapters, sometimes worse than others. Sometimes the chapters are so devastating, and sometimes the chapters are pleasant. But in any case, they are not the title of the book. Ponder that. There are moments in our lives. There are moments that have passed. There are moments that we hold on to, in many cases, to punish ourselves for something that no longer even exists. You know, we must have a soul inquiry. And the soul inquiry is when we ask that which is within us. Call it the Christ, call it your soul, call it God, call it spirit. But whatever you call it, if that thing, that power, that energy, that divinity is not holding my past against me, then why am I? Am I greater than it? Or is it greater than me? And in this greatness, if it does not hold my past against me, if it doesn't take my past and say, you'll never be anything because of that mistake, why am I doing that? And as you know, when we ask the soul inquiry, we don't wait for an answer. We don't sit there anticipating an answer. We wait in the sense of we allow the answer to come forth, because the answer is coming from such a deep place that it has concepts, ideas, and understanding that is beyond our human perception. So we wait for that answer. If that divine in me, if that thing in me, if that Christ in me, if that God in me is not holding me, It's not holding my past against me. Why am I doing it? As we close out today, let's understand that self-forgiveness is not forgetting. It's very hard to forget those things that we've done. Very difficult. But we don't have to allow them that no longer exist. They have happened to continue holding us back there. Self-forgiveness is remembering that your deepest identity has never, ever been your worst moment. Mhm. Ponder that. Hold on to that as you go forth this week, as you practice the forgiveness, allowing yourself to connect with that which is within you that is not holding you in abeyance for what was done. I trust, I hope, I want this week to become an opportunity to release an old story. Release an old story, just one. Don't try to do it all. Sometimes we get so excited. It's like, I'm going to forgive everything. I'm going to forgive myself for everything I've ever done. Try just one old story. Try to release one old story and make room for a new expression of life. Become consciously one with the lovingness, the gentleness, the allness that we sometimes call Spirit, God, Christ, Source that is within us. Thank you for being here for Sunday Conversation. I'm going to let you know next week we start a new series. You want to be here for that, both in Practical Spiritual Living and Sunday Conversation. We have a new series coming up, so stay tuned to that. There'll be information coming out all this week. If you're on any of our social media channels, you'll be alerted to it. And of course, if you're in the core group, you get a notification there too. So without further ado, I say have a wonderful day, have a wonderful life, and if nothing else, learn how to forgive yourself. This is Reverend Arkan saying, Namaste.